What if your pain isn't your enemy? What if it's your body trying to tell you something essential, something you've ignored for far too long? We carry stories inside us, stories that ache, that tremble, that bite. Sometimes we punish ourselves for them because no one ever explained what was happening.
Well, let me ask you this question.
Sure.
In school,
Yes.
did you have trouble paying attention?
Correct.
Okay. Do you tend to lose things?
Yes.
Do you find it easy to be disorganized?
100%.
Okay. You probably qualify for this diagnosis called attention deficit disorder, which is the topic of my first book, Scattered Minds, after I was diagnosed with it. And being late is one of the aspects of it. And what it is a lack of time maturity. Like in Scattered Minds, my book on ADHD, I describe how it's 5 minutes to 8 o'clock, and I have to be somewhere at 8.
Yes.
But at 5, I still think I have an eternity in front of me.
This has been my problem since I was a child. Yes.
Because your time sense didn't develop early.
Correct.
So that's why you're always late. And I can also tell you why your time sense didn't develop early.
Why is that?
You see, kids don't have a time sense. To a baby, a present moment is eternity.
Yes.
You can't say to a 1-year-old, you'll have dinner in 5 minutes.
Right.
All they're hearing is, there's no dinner. 5 minutes is eternity. Time sense has to develop. The brain has to develop.
I used to think being late was just me being careless, but I've noticed a pattern. Some mornings I wake up on time, yet I'm still rushing. Keys lost, shoes missing, phone charging elsewhere. It's not laziness. My brain just experiences time differently. Even as a kid, I felt like a single minute lasted forever. Meanwhile, everyone else was ready and waiting. Thinking about it now, maybe being late, losing track, feeling behind. It's not my fault. It's just how my mind works. What about you? Can you relate?
And for brain development, you need certain conditions. Here's what I can tell you without knowing anything about your specific history. There's two things that are true about you.
Okay.
One is you're highly sensitive.
Yes.
The other is when you were small, an infant, even during the pregnancy, your parents were stressed.
How did you know this?
Because that's why you have ADHD. Because you're tuning out and your lack of development of time sense has to do with the stress in your environment. And more genetically sensitive infants are, the more they pick up on their parents' stresses. And that actually interferes with the brain development of certain circuits. It's really that simple. It's not a disease that you inherit. It's actually a response of sensitive infants to a stressed environment.
Self-hatred is the echo of unmet needs. Every angry thought toward ourselves, every judgment is a door waiting to be opened. Curiosity is that door. What am I feeling? Why does this hurt? When we ask instead of blame, the nervous system begins to breathe. Trauma is not an excuse. It is a signal telling us, I survived what I could not process.
When I have something important to do, I will immediately find something not important to do.
Yeah.
So I'll be like, oh my God, I have to organize this drawer right now.
Yeah.
Or I'll be like, I saw an Instagram ad about jogging pants. I really need jogging pants. I should probably buy them now.
Yeah.
Or I'll get mad at myself and go, you know what? Grow a fucking pair and do the hard thing right now. But before you do that hard thing, you should probably go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Why am I procrastinating?
Well, again, procrastination is another trait
Yes.
associated with this syndrome called ADHD. And typically, we put off things until the very last minute.
Yes.
And then we do this rush to get it done. Like I never, in university, when I did my undergraduate training, before I went to medical school, I never began an essay until the night before it was due. And I'd be up all night writing it. Again, it has to do with time sense, and it has to do with lack of motivation. Now, things that you're highly motivated to do, I doubt that you procrastinate very much.
No, I'll do it immediately.
So ADHD is really a question of motivation. And there are certain circuits in the brain to do with motivation. And that has to develop again, like all circuits. Nobody is born with a developed brain. The motivation circuits have to develop. They run on a chemical called dopamine. Mm-hmm. Dopamine is essential for a sense of vitality, for curiosity, for seeking.
Yes.
when you put under high pressure, there's high dopamine levels.
Yeah.
And then you get really motivated.
Right.
So you're waiting for that dopamine hit before you get down to doing what you need to do. It's a matter of how environment shapes brain physiology.
This was a shocking revelation for me. I always thought procrastination was just me being lazy or undisciplined. But apparently it's more than that. Like, I remember in university, I never started essays until the night before. Up all night, rushing to finish, thinking it was just poor planning. Turns out it's connected to how my brain experiences time and motivation. I realized I only ever start tasks I'm really excited about right away. Everything else, I wait for that push, that dopamine hit before I can get going. It's like my brain is wired to need that spark before it kicks into action. And suddenly it made sense. Procrastination isn't just a habit. It's how my motivation circuits developed or didn't how as a kid. What about you? Do you see yourself in this too?
Now, just to have some polite pushback, do I really have ADD or do I have a childlike sense of wonder?
Why is there a contradiction? People with ADHD tend to be more playful, more curious,
Yes.
in some ways more emotionally alive, and they tend to become comedians. I mean, I've seen about probably 90% of comedians could be diagnosed with ADHD because you got this brain that jumps all over the place,
Right.
which is the essence of comedy.
Yes.
You know, so that just about every comedian I've ever met, I could diagnose within a split second with ADHD.
I think we have ADD, and many of us, unfortunately, have clinical depression as well. That's what gives us a very dark sense of humor. But I want to go down this a little bit with you, which is I will also be late to things that I care about. And
Yeah.
there's a form of, even as an adult, I'm 39 years old, I am aware that, oh my God, I'm about to be late. I've been late for dates with my wife. I've been late for pickup of parents or children. There is this, what is underneath this lack of understanding of time or procrastination? I have a theory and I'd love for you to unpack it. I think at the core of it, there's something that I want to do. And as an adult now, I know the path to it will either be painful or humiliating.
Well, let me put it in more simple terms, if I may.
Sure.
There's two things going on for you. Now, you know, you can agree with this or not. I'm giving you my view, you know, laying down the law here. You know.
Sure.
There's two things going on. You really don't have a good time sense.
I have a horrible time sense.
Like if there's 10 minutes left, it's not here yet, so it's not happening yet. So that's what I mentioned before.
Absolutely.
The other is you're emotionally immature, in the sense that emotionally now you can be intellectually very advanced. It's the law of uneven development. Some aspects of our personalities and our brains can develop highly,
Right.
but others be underdeveloped. And there's a lack of responsibility there. Like if you really perceive yourself as responsible and other people's experience mattered to you as much as your own, you'd be there on time. And I promise you, if I called you up and said, Hasan, I have $1 billion for you. If you get here at 5 minutes to 8 o'clock, you'd be there at 6 minutes to 8 o'clock.
I'll be there at 7:30. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
$1 billion?
So,
Yeah.
because you'd really care. And by the way, I'm the same. All my life, I've always been late. To some extent, so I'm not criticizing you or anybody else.
Sure.
But
I mean,
it
you
is
did call me emotionally undeveloped.
But I'm calling myself emotionally developed in that same sense.
Okay, great.
You know, so
Appreciate that, brother.
so I'm not here to point fingers at anybody. I'm talking about the dynamic of what's underneath it.
Sure.
There's a certain degree of lack of maturation.
Responsibility is not guilt. It is listening to the body, the memories, the patterns that whisper. We fear confronting the past, parents, moments, ourselves. Yet the truth is simple. The body holds memory long after the mind forgets. Healing begins when we watch, feel, and say, I see you. I am listening.
You know, which has got its charming aspects. You get to be playful and kind of childlike in a lot of ways. But it also leaves you with lack of responsibility.
Yeah.
And again, I'm telling you, You're perfectly capable of being on time if you're motivated enough. If I promised you $1 billion, you'd be there. When you're still pursuing the relationship with your wife and you're deeply in love with her and you're in that romantic phase, were you ever late?
I was still late. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've
okay.
always been late. This is why, I mean, she's a ride or die.
And this
And
thing.
really, yeah.
Yeah.
You know how
yeah.
the state says she should get half? I'm like, she
Yeah,
should get
yeah.
more than
Well,
half. She
it's a
deserves
lack
it.
of discipline.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
I don't mean
And then
that.
I hate myself. I actually start to hate myself.
Well,
and
that's
it creates a very bad
see,
cycle.
that I would talk to you about. Because if I told you that, look, I have this issue with being late, would you call me despicable?
No, but I would say it's okay to hate yourself.
Why is it okay to hate yourself?
I don't know. I think it's an Indian thing. I think there's an Indian thing to it, which is
But
you
why
should
is
be
it-
mad at yourself. And,
Should you hate anybody?
I mean, depends on what they did.
Should you hate me if I'm late?
I shouldn't hate you. You're too sweet. Yeah.
Or why should you hate yourself?
I think it comes from a place of you keep doing this to yourself, man. So you're not a serious person.
See, there's two ways you can approach that. One is you keep doing this. You're not a serious person.
And you're smart enough to know that you're not supposed to be doing
all
this.
these judgments.
Yeah.
So that's one way to approach it, is with self-judgment.
Yeah.
Our gut is not just intuition, but it is memory, it is wisdom, it is truth. Trust what it feels, what it trembles at, what it recoils from. And when the world is unjust, let the body move, let the breath anchor. Healing is not ignoring the pain in a way, it is letting it speak safely, fully. Self-hatred, trauma, rage, confusion, none of it is the enemy. These are messages. They are your body speaking the truth your mind forgot. Listen, breathe, be curious. Step slowly toward the life your nervous system has been waiting for.
So you could do that self-critical, self-hating, self-judging thing, or you get curious. Not why am I doing this, but why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Actually, I'm well-intentioned. I'm intelligent.
Capable.
Capable. I care about people. I wonder why I keep doing this. You know, and so that self-curiosity and self-exploration is the alternative.
Where did that self-curiosity take you on your mystery to finding out why you were late to things?
Well, look, I began my own journey of self-discovery because my life wasn't working. I was successful, physician, newspaper writer, father, respected, and I was depressed, and I was always late, and I was disorganized, and I had sensed that I had a deep potential that I haven't come near to expressing, but I had no idea why not. So I had to start asking, well, what's going on here?
Gabor Mate's revelation, it's spot on, bullseye. Hit me so hard I had to pause. I've asked myself these questions a million times, but hearing it framed this way, it finally clicked. It's not about being lazy or careless. It's about curiosity, self-exploration, looking underneath the surface instead of beating myself up. I realized I've been judging myself for years, when all I needed was to ask, why am I doing this? And just that shift from criticism to curiosity is opening a Pandora's box inside me. It's raw, it's uncomfortable, but it's real. And for the first time, I feel like I'm starting to understand myself.
What's going on here? And that took me deeply into the literature of child development and psychological unfoldment.
Right.
And
you've talked about this in your work of this changing the framing from what's wrong with you to what happened to you.
Exactly.
That question in of itself is a bit offensive.
Why?
What the fuck happened to you?
Why is that?
You can see how that, just the framing of that. What happened? Dude, what happened to you? That is kind of offensive.
Yeah, but you see, the offensiveness is not in the words, it's in the tone. You can say, what happened to you? Or you could say, what did happen to you?
Yeah, you're
No,
right.
is that the same?
No, those are two very different tones. Yeah.
So the one is a judgment and a rejection. The other is a real inquiry. I'm talking about genuine inquiry, and I'm advising anybody who hates themselves that what they need to do, if they really want to get to know, is not to accuse themselves, but to be curious. There's always a reason.
When he said that, What's wrong with you? Versus, what happened to you? Man, that hit me right in the chest. Because that's the question I've been asking myself my whole life. What's wrong with me? Why can't I focus? Why do I mess things up? Why can't I just be normal? And suddenly Gabor Maté flips it. Not what's wrong with you, but what happened to you. That tiny shift, it changes everything. It's not judgment anymore. It's compassion. It's not shame. It's curiosity. It's not an attack. It's an invitation to understand yourself. I never realized how much tone matters, how the same words can either wound you or open a door to healing. And that's when it clicked. The real work isn't about fixing myself. It's about understanding myself. Bullseye, Gabor. That one landed deep.
Part of me that's like, on some level, don't we need to forget the past to move forward? Or at least forgive what that was to move forward.
So here's how I understand what I just heard you say.
Yeah.
When you're on stage, connecting with an audience,
Yeah.
you're in a genuine state of flow.
Yeah.
What's it called? State of flow.
Yes.
And
I'm not defined by the worst thing that's happened to me.
no, I
Or
totally
the worst
get,
things
no,
that have happened to my parents.
No,
or my
no, you're
ancestors.
totally in the present.
Yeah, I'm
You're
totally in the present.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're not defined by the tyranny of the past at that point.
Yeah, totally.
You're open. Now, flow is an interesting word because at that point, you would probably agree, although your personality and your knowledge and your wit and your mind certainly helps you, but there's something flowing through you.
Yes.
You're not creating it as such. You're the vehicle for creation.
Yeah.
Would that be accurate?
Correct.
Okay.
It feels like magic.
Yeah. Well, it's the same way when I'm on stage and I'm talking to an audience. Like I'll be talking to 3,500 people here in New York tonight. Believe me, I'll be in a state of flow.
Yeah.
And I'll be present. Next morning with my wife,
Oh no! Don't say it. Don't say
I
it.
might not be in that state of flow.
Oh no.
You know, so there's something happens with people that have that sensitivity and that creativity, and that's where art actually comes from. And when there's something greater that moves through you, that's not defined by the past.
Mm-hmm.
So that's true, and part of my problem is that I love that state so much. It tends to be a bit addictive to go there.
Sure.
And not to deal so much with the messy, nitty-gritty reality of everyday life,
Yeah.
which is a lot more full of stumbles and blockages.
Yeah, and just traffic and responsibility.
Yeah, and the laundry and the laundry.
Totally, bureaucracy, nonsense,
all
and
that
phone
stuff.
calls. Yeah, totally.
But I get it, and that's a gift that you have. So.
But I also want to hold both of us accountable here. Is at what point does character come into play? I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
You hear this often, specifically with guys and their dads. My dad had a temper.
Yeah.
He was like a rice cooker that could explode.
Yeah.
Many dads had this. And there's two types of children. There are some people that temper gets retweeted, and there's other kids where like, I will not blow up. I will not be that person. But I feel that Tasmanian devil of dad inside of me.
Well, first of all, I was one of those dads. My son Daniel, with whom I wrote The Myth of Normal,
Yeah.
he actually writes in the book that growing up with me in that family, it was like when the floor wasn't the floor. You never knew when the safety and the security would disappear and the floor would just open up because there would be these emotional explosions, But what do you mean by character?
Character means there's a choice you can make to break the cycle. You have your wits about you. You have agency. You know what you're doing. This is why I sometimes go into the self-hatred thing. Come on, man. You know what you're doing. This is me talking to myself. I'm not talking to anybody else.
Do you know something? I have had the experience of going into a rage, watching myself going into a rage, knowing that it wasn't right, and I had no power not to go into it at the same time. Now, I'm not making excuses. It's my responsibility.
Yeah.
And I know the harmful impact on the people around me. But here's what happens. There is a part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, the gray matter, right here in the front.
Uh-huh.
And then there's another part here called the orbital frontal cortex, which is next to the eye socket. It's like right here. When people go somebody's loco, that's what
Yeah,
they're
sure.
that's what they're pointing at.
Oh, they're pointing to the upper right.
Yeah, the job of this part here, amongst others, is what's called response flexibility. That when something happens, I have the flexibility. So if my wife doesn't show up at the airport to pick me up, I could respond with rage and disappointment and a sense of abandonment, or I could say, "Oh, that's disappointing. Too bad. I'll take a taxi home." That's called response flexibility. This part here, impulse control, when an impulse arises, I don't have to act it out. I can say, "Oh, I'm feeling anger," but I don't have to act out the anger.
Sure.
And the impulse regulation. Now, in certain people, these circuits don't develop as well as they should, number one.
Yeah.
And number two, at that moment, the deeper emotion-laden defensive and aggressive circuits of the brain take over. So when you say somebody lost it, I just lost it. What did they lose? They lost impulse regulation
Yeah.
and response flexibility. Those are trauma effects.
But
No. Here's what I'm going to say.
sure.
That's not an excuse.
Yeah.
I'm not here to excuse anything.
Yeah.
But I'm saying is if you realize that about that, it's your job to go to work, to grow up. And growing up, I don't mean as a moral imperative. I mean, get into therapy, do something to develop these circuits. Do something so that you can be a responsible human being. That's totally on me.
Yeah.
So I can't use the past as an excuse, but I can understand the past
Yeah.
to know what I have to overcome.
No words. I cried. I just had to ask, why me? But then I heard him say it, that maybe it's not about forgetting the past or pretending it never happened, but understanding how it shaped me. And that hit deep, because I've tried so hard to move on, to act like the past doesn't matter. But hearing that, it's like something inside me finally made sense. The idea that you can't heal by denying what hurt you, that healing happens when you understand why it still lives inside you. And when he said we're not defined by the worst things that happen to us, that's when I lost it. Because that's what I've been afraid of all along, being stuck as that person forever. But maybe flow, that state where you're fully present, isn't about escaping the past. It's about not letting it define your next breath. Gabor's words hit like truth wrapped in mercy. And for once, I didn't feel broken. I just felt human.
I think Gabor, and I mean this, as someone who's a fan of your work.
Yeah.
I think Zoom therapy is overrated. And I know you're a therapist, but it because it's passive. You need to be active. I'll give you another example. When I was a kid, my cousins will tell you this.
Yeah.
Okay. My cousins and other friends that I went to school with. I was a smaller kid and I would sometimes get bullied.
Yeah.
And I would bite. So my cousins have told me this. My sisters told me this when you were
You'd
little.
bite, you said?
I would bite other kids.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would feel threatened and I would bite them, usually on the forearm or upper arm where it's kind of fleshy and doughy. I would say, "Oh, there's some babka," and then bam, and I'd hit him. Top two teeth, bottom teeth. And I was a biter. I'm 39 years old. I almost never bite people now.
I'm relieved to hear that.
Yeah, I haven't bitten my sister in 2 years,
Oh, that's great.
at least.
Congratulations.
What I'm trying to say is I made a choice to not bite. At some point, I had to say, I'm not biting.
At a point when you had the maturity to make the choice.
Yes. Then let's talk about that then. What is the age of, come on, man, this isn't serious. You're being unserious. You have to grow up.
Well,
I totally own what you're saying. You're like, Hasan, you're being emotionally.
and by the way, let's just go back to your biting.
Yeah.
If you're a small kid being bullied,
Yeah.
can you see how biting might be a totally natural response?
Oh, I totally got why I did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a natural preventive defensive response.
Yes.
And it's an explanation. It's also an expression of your own frustration. You
Yes.
know? A more interesting question is, when you're bullied, who did you talk to about it?
Nobody.
Sorry?
Nobody.
Right.
Yeah.
That's where your trauma was. If your kids were bullied, who would you want them to talk to?
Of course, hopefully me.
If you found out that your kids were bullied and they suffered and they didn't talk to you, how would you explain that?
Can you ask me the question again? I'm sorry.
I'm asking a question. And I know this is a hard one.
Yeah.
and this is typical when people's minds go offline,
Yeah.
is because it's a painful one. If your kids were bullied
Yes.
and they suffered humiliation, shame,
Sure.
pain, fear,
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
and they did not talk to you about it, how would you explain why my kids are not talking to me?
Oh, I couldn't explain. I'd be very hurt. I'd be sad that they didn't tell me.
Yes, but I'm not asking you how you'd feel. I'm asking you, how would you explain why they're not talking to you?
Probably because on some level, I have not created a channel for them to talk to me, or they're
They don't-
processing. They don't have.
They don't feel safe with you.
Yeah, they don't feel so. Yeah,
They
probably.
they don't trust you.
Yeah.
What's it like for a kid not to feel safe and trust with the parents? What's it like for a kid? What
Oh,
would
it
be,
must be terrifying. Yeah, it's terrifying. Yeah.
that was your childhood.
You know, my parents listen to this podcast. They're not going to be happy with this.
Well, your parents did their best.
Yeah.
They did their trauma. I did my best with my kids. I'm telling to your parents, and your parents are probably close to my age. I don't know, but
Yeah, they're a little bit. Yeah, they're around your age. Yeah.
yeah, dear parents of Hasan, you did your best. That was your best
Yes.
because of the traumas that you had undergone.
Sure.
So there's nobody's being blamed here. But what I'm saying is that there was a trauma there for you of not having that safety and security.
Mm-hmm.
And when you talk about therapy, it's actually about understanding all that stuff, but not just understanding it, working it through the body so that it doesn't dominate you anymore.
Yeah. You understand right now, though, Gabor, there's two major camps here when it comes to parents and forgiving parents.
Yeah,
And I'll tell you what the two camps are.
yeah,
And this really is the Democratic and Republican Party of
yeah.
parent therapy. Okay? There's two camps.
Mhm.
There's number one, and this has been a huge movement, radical transparency. Talk to your parents at Thanksgiving, tell them how you feel, tell them what happened, and bring receipts. And then there's another camp, which is your parents did their best, live and let live. But I have a lot of friends, and I did go to therapy, and this is where the therapist did lead me down the wrong path, where she said, unload the clip and just go rat-a-tat-tat.
Okay,
Dad,
so-
you're always late. Dad, you're a psycho. Mom, how many times have I told you? The iPad goes here. Dad, stop texting me. Hi, this is Dad. The whole thing.
Well, look, if you're presenting with two bad choices, then there's going to be no way out. But I don't see it as split into those two camps, one or the other, and there's no other reality.
I think radical transparency and demanding mea culpas from a 76-year-old with a hip replacement is the equivalent of you pulling out a Tommy gun and shooting up an old man.
My son Daniel and I are writing a new book.
Okay.
It's called Hello Again, a fresh start for parents and adult children. It's got nothing to do with demanding mea culpas. It's got nothing to do with taking a machine gun and shooting some 76-year-old with a hip replacement. It's got to do with each partner, each person understanding their own role in a relationship and their own responsibility in a relationship. Your healing does not depend on blaming your parents. It does depend on understanding what happened to you, but understanding what happened to you doesn't mean blaming your parents. Fact is, you were bullied and there's nobody for you to talk to about it. That's deeply painful. And that happened in your family of origin. But I'm not blaming your parents. Your parents did their best. It's for your parents, should they choose to
Yes.
recognize what happened and to say, you know, Hasan, that was reality. That was our reality.
Right.
But your healing doesn't depend on them acknowledging anything.
Yeah.
You don't depend on them for your healing. That's totally your responsibility.
So
I don't see this dichotomy
really,
between the two.
you're saying both things can exist at the same time. They did their best.
Yeah.
And by their best, then as children, do we owe them some gratitude for
You see-
doing their best? I mean, that's quite the effort. If you were in the gym and you did your best,
Yeah.
your personal best on bench press,
You see, I'm
you
not
deserve some credit.
I'm not interested in owing. Owing is like a should that you lay on. So I don't tell anybody what they should do.
Okay.
I'm saying that when somebody recognizes that, yes, my parents really had issues that prevented them from seeing who I was, from supporting me the way I needed to be supported. So here's the thing I would ask you. Are you the same person now that you were 30 years ago?
Gabor's words hit like truth wrapped in compassion. It made me wonder how many of our wounds are just younger versions of us still waiting to feel safe enough to speak. We spend years trying to grow up, to stop biting back. But what if healing isn't about growing out of the pain? It's about finally listening to the part of us that never got to explain why it hurt.